bow down prostrate. You are the only one worthy of praise.
Some people attribute towards Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah and say that this statement is inside Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar. You can go to the shops and buy Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar. Inshallah ta'ala, Qiyamah will come, but we won't find this statement inside Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar. That narrator who is weak and fabricated according to Imam Dhabi himself, you use that narration to do takfir of people, na'udhu billah, calling them kafir. And if Allah is sitting on the arsh like these people claim He is, then where was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before creating the arsh? Balki Imam Ibn Qudama rahimahullah, he's clearly mentioned that those verses which are linked with the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are from mutashabihat. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Innal hamdalillah nahmaduhu wa nusalli wa nusallim ala rasulihil kareem, amma ba'd. My dear respected brothers and sisters and honorable listeners, today I will discuss inshallah the saying which is attributed towards Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah. Some people claim that Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah has stated inside his book Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar. Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar is a book which some scholars attribute towards Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah. So these people claim that inside this book it is written on the authority of Abu Muti al-Balkhi rahimahullah that he asked Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah regarding that person who says La a'rif Rabbi fi sama aw fil ard, that I don't know whether Allah is in the heavens or earth. And in one narration he asks regarding that person whoever says, or who doesn't acknowledge rather, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is on his throne. So the great Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah replied, faqad kafar, that this person has indeed done kufr. Then Abu Muti al-Balkhi asked regarding that person who says, I know that Allah is on his arsh, but I don't know that if his arsh is in the heavens or earth. Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah again replied, faqad kafar, this person has done kufr. Why? Because he has refused that arsh is inside the heavens. Now this statement of Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah, some people attribute towards Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah and say that this statement is inside Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar. I want to make one thing very clear, that nowhere in Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar is this statement. This I have in front of me, Sharh Kitab Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar. This is a commentary on Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar by Mullah Ali Qari rahimahullah. In here we have the text of Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar and then the commentary. Nowhere in the text is this statement written. We can go to the shops and buy Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar, or we can go on to the net and download Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar. Inshallah ta'ala, Qiyamah will come, but we won't find this statement inside Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar. What is written inside Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar? Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah has mentioned in Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar, لا يشبه شيئا من الأشياء من خلقه ولا يشبه شيء من خلقه. He is not like unto anything from among his creation, and nothing from among his creation is like unto him. I.e., in other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't resemble anything from his creation, nor does anything from his creation resemble Allah. This is one place. Another place it is stated, وَاللَّهُ تَعَالَى يُرَى فِي الْآخِرَةِ وَيَرَاهُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ وهم في الجنة بأعين رؤوسهم بلا تشبيه ولا كمية ولا يكون بينه وبين خلقه مسافة. Allah Most High will be seen in the hereafter. The believers will see Him while in paradise with their own eyes, without any comparison, corporealism and modality. There will not be any distance between him and his creation. So Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah has clearly stated in his Al-Fiqh al-Akbar, if his attribute towards Imam Abu Hanifah, that there is nothing like Allah and no one from his creation resembles Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's absurd to imagine that Imam Abu Hanifah said that Allah is sitting on his throne. Why? Because sitting on the throne, this is a quality, sitting on something is a quality of a human, of a makhluk. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free from such attributions. Furthermore, Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah in his Al-Wasiyyah. Al-Wasiyyah is also a work attributed towards Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah. In there, Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah has clearly stated that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free from place and direction. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free from place and direction. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no need of arsh. And then Imam Abu Hanifah further states that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sitting on his arsh, then where was he before creating the arsh? This in Al-Wasiyyah is clearly stated that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of arsh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of makan, of a place. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free from direction. And if Allah is sitting on the arsh, like these people claim he is, then where was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before creating the arsh? And this can be derived from Bukhari Sharif. Imam Bukhari rahimahullah in his Sahih, in the chapter of Bad al-Khalq, chapter of the beginning of creation, he has reported a hadith. The Prophet ﷺ has said, Kana Allah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala existed. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ شَيْءٌ غَيْرَهُ, and nothing apart from him had existed at that time. There was only Allah. There was no arsh. There was no makan. There was no place. There was no jihad. There was no direction. There was nothing from the makhluk. وَكَانَ Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala existed. This is هُوَ الْأَوَّلُ وَالْآخِرُ وَالظَّاهِرُ وَالْبَاطِنُ وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. The question arises from this hadith, that if Allah existed at that time, where there was no arsh, then where was Allah at that time? كَانَ اللَّهُ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ شَيْءٌ غَيْرَهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala existed and there was nothing apart from Allah. Furthermore, the question arises that these people who have got the audacity and who have got the nerve to do takfir and call people kafir on the basis of this fabricated narration, where have they got this narration from? Of Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah. They have got this narration from Al-Fiqh al-Absat, which is also a work attributed towards Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah. And this statement of Abu Muti al-Balkhi regarding Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah has been mentioned by Allama Dhahabi in his two famous books of Aqīdah, Al-Arsh and Al-Ulu lil-Ali al-Ghaffar. Which two books? Al-Arsh of Imam Dhahabi and Al-Ulu lil-Ali al-Ghaffar. These two books are of Aqīdah, written by Imam Dhahabi rahimahullah. In there, this statement is also written. That's why most of these brothers, they use this against us of doing, some have gone to the extent of even na'udhu billah calling a large group of ulama kafir because of this statement. And they say the Hanafi school of thought, they're kafir. We don't say they're kafir, but their own imam says they're kafir. Na'udhu billah min dhalik. Now, the whole irony about this issue is that this statement of Abu Muti al-Balkhi rahimahullah, who Allama Dhahabi rahimahullah has mentioned in his book Al-Arsh and Al-Ulu lil-Ali al-Ghaffar, this narrator and the pioneer of this narration has been criticized by many eminent scholars. I would like to give you a few examples. This is Mizanul I'tidal. Mizanul I'tidal. And this is a book regarding the ruwat, the narrators of ahadith, compiled by Allama Dhahabi rahimahullah, the same person who has written the two Aqīdah books which these people use regards to this statement. In here, under the biography of this narrator Abu Muti al-Balkhi, he has mentioned some muhaddithun who have criticized him. Imam Ibn Ma'in rahimahullah says regarding him, laysa bi-shay'in, that he was nothing. Imam Bukhari rahimahullah says da'if, that he was weak. Imam Nasa'i rahimahullah says da'if, he was weak. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahimahullah says that no person should narrate anything from this person. And he was a Jahmi. Imam Abu Dawud mentions he was a Jahmi. Imam Ibn Hibban mentions kana min ru'asa al-murji'ah, that he was amongst the leaders of the Murji'ah sect, mimman yubghidu sunan, who hated the sunnah, wa muntahiliha, and he was a plagiarist. So this is written inside Mizan al-I'tidal. But the strange thing about this whole issue is that these people criticize us, of using this narrator when it comes to fiqh, when it comes to jurisprudence. When it comes to fiqh and jurisprudence, we have used this narrator in some masail, we get criticized that you use a fabricator. But when it comes to aqeedah, these people use him with open heart, without even thinking twice that the person that is using is a fabricator. And whilst doing takfir of others, they don't even think that the person that they are using is a fabricator. And not only a fabricator, according to other muhaddithun, but Allama Dhahabi rahimahullah, who has written those two books of Aqīdah, and he has stated this narration of Abu Muti al-Balkhi rahimahullah. According to him himself, he was a fabricator. According to Allama Dhahabi, himself, he was a fabricator. This, I have this in front of me, Lisanul Mizan. Lisanul Mizan is a book on ruwat of ahadith, narrators of ahadith, compiled by the great Hafiz Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani al-Shafi'i rahimahullah. In there, he has mentioned, under the biography of the same narrator Abu Muti al-Balkhi, that قَدْ جَزَمَ الذَّهَبِي بِأَنَّهُ وَضَعَ حَدِيثًا, that Imam Dhahabi rahimahullah had yaqeen and full conviction that this narrator Abu Muti al-Balkhi was a fabricator. So now, this is a very big deceit to the ummah, that narrator who is weak and fabricated, according to Imam Dhahabi himself, you use that narration to do takfir of people, na'udhu billah, calling them kafir, yeah? And also giving this impression that Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah was a mujassim, he was an anthropomorphist, he was a person who attributed human qualities to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anthropomorphist means mushabbih, a person who attributes human qualities. Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah wasn't like this. Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah was amongst the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah was that Imam regarding whom Imam Shafi rahmatullah alayhi says, فَقَدْ قَالَ ابْنِ إِدْرِيسَ مَقَالًا صَحِيحًا نَقْلِي فِي حِكْمٍ لَطِيفَةٍ بِأَنَّ النَّاسِ فِي الْفِقْهِ عِيَالٌ عَلَى فِقْهِ Imam Abi Hanifa. Imam Shafi rahimahullah says that the entire humanity is in need of Imam Abu Hanifah rahmatullah alayhi's jurisprudence and fiqh. He cannot make such a claim. So what is the correct claim that Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah mentioned? The correct claim I would like to put in front of you, my brothers and sisters, is what Imam and Shaykh Abdul Salam has mentioned in his book Hallur Rumuz. He has mentioned a narration in Hallur Rumuz, and is also been transmitted by Mullah Ali Qari in the commentary of Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar, that Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah once said that whoever says, I don't know whether Allah is in the heavens or earth, indeed he has done kufr. Why? Because this statement, it gives an impression that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a place. Inna hadha al-qawl yuhimu anna lil-haqqi makanan. That this qawl And this statement of saying, I don't know whether Allah is in the heavens or earth, a person becomes kafir. Why? Because this statement gives the impression that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a place. And whoever thinks that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a place, he's a mushabbih, he's an anthropomorphist, he's a person who has attributed human qualities to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why he's done kufr. For example, I say to you, after Asr Salah, are you going to be in room number 1 or room number 2? Are you going to be in room number 1 or room number 2? Meaning you are going to be in one of the rooms, but I'm not sure which room you are going to be in. Similarly, saying that Allah is in the heavens or earth, meaning He is in one of them, but He's not sure in which one He is. And the last thing I would like to mention regarding this issue and this false claim that has been attributed towards Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah, that the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we all believe in the Quranic verses and the Ahadith Mubarakah, and those verses where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى عَلَى الْعَرْشِ الرحمن على العرش استوى, the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mustawi on arsh, the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ghalin ala al-arsh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the high or the quality of ulu. All these verses we believe. آمنا به والراسخون في العلم يقولون آمنا به. Those that have good knowledge, they say آمنا به, we have iman on this. But to interpret it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is on His arsh, meaning with His being, that none of the scholars from the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah have said this. None of the scholars from the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah have said this. Balki Imam Ibn Qudama rahimahullah, he's clearly mentioned that those verses which are linked with the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are from mutashabihat. They are from mutashabihat, i.e. those verses which are not clearly, and they haven't been given any specific explanation. They haven't been given any specific explanation. Those verses are from the mutashabihat. So we believe in those verses. And all of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they all believe in these verses. But no one from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, no one from the Sahaba, no one from the Tabi'in, the Tabi'in, Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah, Imam Malik rahimahullah, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahimahullah, and Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah have stated that Allah is on His throne with His being. Rather, these people who they use all the time, Imam Dhahabi rahimahullah, they quote his Al-Arsh and his Al-Ulul Al-Ali Ghaffar. Imam Dhahabi himself says that we shouldn't mention the word that. We shouldn't say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sitting on His throne with His being. The dalil to this is, I have this in front of me, Siyar A'lam al-Nubala. This is a great work of Imam Dhahabi rahimahullah. In here, volume 12, page 333, under the biography of Abu Hasan bin Zaghuni. The last line which I would like to read out from this book, the Imam Dhahabi rahimahullah mentions, قَدْ ذَكَرْنَا أَنَّ لَفْظَ بِذَاتِهِ لَا حَاجَةَ إِلَيْهَا. That indeed we have mentioned that the word بِذَاتِهِ, I to say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above His throne with His being. We believe Allah is ghalin on His arsh, but what does that mean? We believe that Allah is mustawi on an arsh, but what does that mean? آمنا bih. We have iman on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, iman on these verses. Allama Dhahabi says that to say that Allah is on His throne with His being, there is no need of saying this word. There is no need of saying this word. We shouldn't say this word. Why? Because this word, it creates fitna, it creates disturbance, it creates trouble within people. وَهِيَ تَشْغَبُ النُّفُوسِ, the nafs and the soul of people, they are put into fitna by saying such words. And it's true. If I think Allah is above His throne with His being, He's sitting, what's the first image that comes to your mind? That na'udhu billah, Allah is sitting on a throne like this, and He's sitting on a chair, and He's sitting like this, na'udhu billah min dhalik. So Imam Dhahabi himself, who has written Al-Arsh and Al-Ulul Al-Ali Al-Ghaffar, who these people, mashallah, have done a lot of mutala of and use to do takfir of ulama and to do takfir of many people, he himself is saying, the Hazrat, suno, please listen. This word that Allah is above his throne with his being, don't say this. Ye baat mat karo, don't say this. Why? Because saying this gives the impression that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a body. This gives the impression that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like his makhluk. This person will fall into fitna. It creates disturbance, it creates fitna, it creates trouble within people. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the true understanding of Iman, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us all from the ways of shaitan. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.